Make sure to subscribe to our channel, join our Discord, and also follow us on Instagram so you always have the support that you need to really enhance your account and get yourself to the next level. If you like the work that we do and you want to support the channel, please check out our Patreon. The link is in the description of this video, and I'm extremely grateful for your support. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever Sky podcast. And when we're doing the first podcast, I wanted to have a very interesting guest with us, one that would make the first podcast very exciting. And as you can imagine, I decided to have that conversation with Blue Ant, who is the R5 of Tor, the strongest alliance in the Ants right now, and a very good friend of mine. But it wasn't easy to get Blue Ant here, and part of the reason is because I speak English and Blue Ant prefers to speak Chinese. So for months, I was convincing her to go ahead with it despite the fact that we're speaking different languages. And honestly, I had to think a lot about how we can make that work. But I realized that if I focus only on English, we're gonna lose a lot of great people that I would love everyone to hear from, right? So, despite the fact that Blue and I are not going to be speaking the same language, I knew you guys wanted to hear her story, so we managed to make it work. So you are going to be hearing Blue Ant's own voice, but of course I do want you to understand what she's saying, and because of that I'm going to be enabling YouTube closed captions, and that's going to make sure there's the correct English translations or whatever language you prefer to listen to. Translations of that language should be available on YouTube. So while you hear real voices, you can also understand what we're saying by using the translations of the transcript that should be available to you. Just click that button at the bottom right and you should be able to see your language and you'll be able to understand what we're saying. Alright, so after a year of planning, I finally got that conversation with Blue, so here you have it. In the world of ants, Blue Ant is a legend, known by some as the boss or by some as the princess. She sits at the absolute pinnacle of the game, and today she is pulling back the curtain on the biggest mistakes mid-spenders make, her ultimate rivalry, and her biggest frustrations in the game right now. Blue, it is a pleasure to have you here.
谢谢，我也很高興來這裡和你一起聊一下螞蟻。
Let's start with a little bit about you. Where did the name Blue Ant come from?
用 Blue Ant 這個名字是因為我的英文名字用的就是 Blue， 所以就叫 Blue Ant。
Now that we know where the name comes from, I wanted to know how the legend actually started. Why did she decide to go all in on spending in the first place?
首先非常高興作為 Sky 聯盟第一期播客的嘉賓，在公雞先生強烈要求下回答他一些問題。早期我們這組有一個很厲害的韓國人，他是我們300加服務器第一個開出 T10的玩家，名字我不記得了，都是韓文。我記得當時那個時候，那個對決好像是才開吧，他就開了，他那時候開了 T10，他就可以一直霸榜排在第一個，誰都打不動他。不過那個對決還沒有，就是那個對決沒有完全結束，那個人就不玩了，所以他離開得很早。我記得有一次跨服戰，他就一直追着我打，然後那個畫面就是他在追，我在不停的逃，因為我打不過他，完全打不過他。從那個以後，我就開始把能買的禮包都買了一遍，就是希望有一天可以打贏他。我到現在還記得，他當時一直用的是那個紫色皮膚海綿寶寶，不過那個時候好像也沒有其他皮膚，我印象當中，因為太早了。不過後來那個人就不玩了。 現在氪金的話，我只是選擇性的買一些必須買的吧，因為很多東西我已經升到頂了，如果繼續花錢也不會，就沒有什麼東西可以升了。但是如果完全不花，那慢慢的也會被別人追上的。我一直覺得就是遊戲消費和其他你的興趣愛好是一樣的，沒有什麼區別。有的人喜歡打牌，有的人喜歡購物、旅遊、攝影，遊戲也是屬於愛好之一吧，沒有什麼高低好壞，只是看它能不能入你的心。我覺得螞蟻這個遊戲，它本身就像螞蟻的習性一樣，就是靠慢慢一點一點累積材料，你不可能一夜之間變得很強。至於金魚玩家容易犯什麼錯誤，我其實倒沒有覺得什麼，沒有很認同這個說法。我覺得玩遊戲沒有什麼對錯吧，每個人有自己的玩法。你想氪金或者完全不氪金，你只要自己玩得開心，享受這個過程，我覺得就是找一個適合自己的玩法就可以了。
It is wild to think that play with the SpongeBob skin triggered a rivalry that shaped the server and the entire game, to be honest. But as she mentioned, the game has evolved drastically since those early days. I wanted to know, if someone is spending money today, what are the biggest mistakes they are making?
我覺得最重要的就是把錢花在刀刃上，有些沒有必要買的東西就可以不買。現在的螞蟻已經變成氪野怪是必須的，因為我發現礦洞裡面，如果你的野怪低一個級別，就會打不過別人。所以說野怪放在首位，有餘力的話再去考慮買螞蟻，因為買螞蟻的成本比較大，你除了買螞蟻本身，你後面還要買覺醒，所以說又是一筆投資。對於大多數玩家來說，我覺得升到7星已經夠用了，沒有必要去升8星。7星和8星的那一點點差別，只有對頂氪玩家，我覺得才有必要，因為那一點點差距，就是說大家都拉滿的情況下，可能會看得出來吧。如果你是小氪，那就買野怪的月卡也可以玩。如果讓我重新開始不花錢的玩，我想我會找一個最活躍的聯盟玩。活躍的聯盟會更有意思吧。
That advice right there, stopping at 7-star ants and focusing on insects is gonna save a lot of people a lot of money. But individual power only gets you so far. Leading a top alliance filled with massive accounts seems impossible. So I asked Blue how she keeps her team united.
我從來沒有想過要去刻意的留住哪個氪金玩家。我覺得你喜歡去哪裡就去哪裡，你自己開心就可以了。與其說是我管理聯盟，我更喜歡把它說成是合作吧。如果大家認可我的想法，那麼自然而然就會願意聽，願意採納，也願意留下來。如果不認可，那麼離開也是很自然的事情，自然正常的事情。 即使現在離開了，你以後想回來，我也是一樣歡迎的。大家一起玩遊戲，又不是仇人，我覺得沒有必要把事情就是看得那麼嚴重。我一直覺得聯盟的團結要比聯盟的實力更重要。就算你整體實力弱一點，如果大家很團結，目標一致，有時候會比一個很強，但是比很強但是卻各玩各的聯盟更有競爭力吧。目前為止，我們聯盟沒有什麼內部矛盾。我覺得矛盾的產生只有會發生在聯盟重組或者說合併的時候，因為大家都有不同的想法，誰都不想被改變。如果意見不一致，要離開，我覺得也是很正常的。至於篩選隊員，我覺得活躍度放在第一位吧，其他的事情我其實並不太關心，因為很多東西已經超出了遊戲本身。
Recruiting purely for activity builds an incredible culture, but recently the developers introduced Auto Rally, which completely shifted what it means to be an active player. I asked Blue Ant how her alliance, TAW, is adapting.
怎麼說呢？最早是有想過要組一個最強的聯盟，但是後來我發現，就是你組的越強，那麼他永遠可以配一個更強的對手給你。所以說後來慢慢的就發現其實不用太強，就是說你強，你的盟友就會很弱，你如果沒有太強，那你的盟友就會強一點，這個就是相對的吧。更加重要的我覺得是活躍度吧，但是現在有了自動集結，活躍度的重要性就沒有像以前那樣了。你如果沒有什麼時間上線，你就可以賽季裡面買2個星期自動集結，就可以解決所有問題。但是如果你又不願意買自動集結，然後你又沒有時間上線，那就沒有辦法玩。我就要建議你去找那些跟你一樣的，不想買自動集結也沒有辦法上線的人，這樣大家在一起休閒的玩都沒有壓力，然後你匹配到的對手也是大概是一樣遊戲節奏的，那麼這樣其實對大家都好。
Schedules and time zones can literally make or break a season, and Blue Ant knows this better than anyone. In our rapid fire round, I asked her about her toughest opponents, the alliances she respects the most, the alliance she would be in within her range if it weren't for TAW, and her biggest complaints about the game's development.
我覺得螞蟻這個遊戲推出的時候可能有一點倉促，因為當時是疫情，所以要急着把它上市，因為很多人那個時候都待在家裡，大家都有時間。我覺得當時這個遊戲還沒有完全開發成熟，就讓它上市了，上線了。所以說結果就是很多內容不停的改，不斷的調整。 我最想吐槽的就是那個早期的那些氪金椅，很多人花了錢買了氪金椅，然後證明它並不好用，然後有一些人就因為這個不玩了。我覺得最爛的應該就是那個他們叫它衛生紙，就那個白色的長很多毛的那個，我叫它白毛毛。我覺得官方應該想一下怎麼處理這些老螞蟻，是不是應該考慮類似於像以舊換新這樣的機制，就是不至於把它們閒置在倉庫裡面。這些螞蟻你說你又不能用，看了就生氣。再來說最難打的对手，我覺得是我的搭檔，就是倚天屠龍。甚至到現在，我其實心裡還是蠻想再做一次他的對手，把他打輸。不過呢，我覺得賽季的輸贏本來就有一定的運氣成分。他們說輸贏靠隊友，我覺得這句話沒有毛病。其實只要匹配兩邊有誤差大一點，那麼結果就可能完全不一樣。我就說我和 KK， 我和屠龍碰到的那一場，第一場是荒野。他那邊的隊友一個是日本聯盟，一個是台灣盟。我這邊3個聯盟，我們是3個不一樣的睡覺時間。你說這樣的匹配本來就不公平。當然另一方面也是因為那個是我回來的第一場，當時確實是犯了很多錯誤，就是現在回頭看應該是可以，就是說應該是可以做得更好。但是话再說回来，我就算最後贏了又能代表什麼？是代表運氣比他好，還是代表自己比別人厲害？就算證明了自己比別人厲害，那又怎麼樣呢？就是說到底，其實我覺得玩的還是一個過程，就是大家為了一個目標齊心協力，一起到達終點的一種體驗吧。順境不跋扈，逆境不互相埋怨，我覺得這就是最值得回憶的部分。至於最尊重的聯盟，我不能具體到名字，因为我覺得其實還是有蠻多很好的聯盟。有些聯盟它的戰力雖然弱，但是他們賽季執行力很強，然後高度配合，然後又非常活躍。我覺得這樣的聯盟就是你自然而然的就會很欣賞和尊重。最後那個問題，如果我不在 TOR，我可能會去 DOK 吧。因為我蠻好奇的，如果是這樣的組合，我們會得到什麼樣的對手？
Winning without arrogance and losing without blaming one another. That is an incredibly grounded way to look at high-level PvP. To wrap things up, I wanted to know how Blue Ant deals with the pressure and what the game actually means to her.
如果別人誤解我，我覺得那就誤解好啦，我不需要向任何人解釋。另外，我始終沒有覺得我是最強的，因為，我是310，最早在310本身就比前面的服要玩得晚，而且我當中還離開了4個月，所以說很多東西我是買不到也累積不到的，就好像琥珀，這個東西是沒有辦法超越別人的，就是買不到。還有像魚骨啊這些東西，我現在是不可能再花錢去買魚骨的，所以說我覺得就這樣吧，也沒有必要成為最強的玩家。螞蟻是我玩過的所有遊戲裡面玩的時間最長的一個。現在每天登錄遊戲，我覺得更多的像是一種習慣。當時玩螞蟻的時間點比較特殊，那個時候正好是疫情，大家都沒有經歷過疫情，很多人都有很多的時間在家裡玩遊戲。後來疫情結束了，就生活恢復正常，就大家也沒有那麼多的時間，放到遊戲裡面。對於我覺得，螞蟻陪我走過了一段，很特殊的時期吧，所以說也會有一些特殊的感情在裡面。我也很感謝之前認識的那些朋友，雖然有些人已經不玩了。至於別人怎麼稱呼我覺得都可以啊。有人叫我阿姨，有人叫公主，有人叫老闆、老大，也有人叫我 Blue。我覺得這個就是稱呼吧，沒有很重要，都可以。然後最後謝謝公雞先生的邀請。
A massive thank you to Blue for taking the time to share her story with us. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree with her take on old pay dance, and also make sure to subscribe for more deep dives. Like the video so I know that this sort of content is interesting to you and the multiple language shifting didn't actually take away from the fun of this video, because there are a lot of other interesting people who speak different languages who I would love to interview, assuming this is something you guys find interesting. Obviously, you all know I like to prioritize things that you guys find the most interesting. So if you do enjoy this sort of content, let me know and I'll try to make more of it. Thank you all for watching. Remember to subscribe to our channel, check out our Instagram. We have a bunch of interesting content there. Join our Patreon if you're interested in supporting the Sky Alliance so that we can continue our work on the website, right? There's a bunch of interesting stuff there, but the website is incredibly expensive to update. Just adding the sapphire beetle on the insect's talent page cost me thousands of dollars, believe it or not. So if you want to be part of something big, join our Patreon and let's make something big together. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.